Of course, it finishes Newcastle 4, Luton Town 4. Well, why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it? Don, your childhood club made you sweat a lot today.
Oh, yeah, it was part of the goal rush. I mean, 26 goals in 5 games, but this was the best game by far. I mean, difficult one to sort of analyse, really, because Newcastle were up twice in the game. They're up 1-0, up 2-1. Then before you know it, Luton are winning 4-2, and you're thinking, wow, this has reminded me of when Newcastle played Nottingham Forest, when Chris Wood scored a hat-trick, when Forest rocked up a couple of weeks back and won 3-1. And then you're thinking of 4-2 down, there's no chance of Newcastle getting back in the game, 4-3, 4-4. You take a point, but it's not really good enough. I got asked before the game my score prediction. I went 5-1 Newcastle. I thought off the back of a great win against Villa, Luton at home would be in great form. I thought they'd win it, but I get the feeling now Newcastle's strength is their weakness because it's in James's Park, it's very emotional, and that's where they're brilliant when the crowd get involved and all the players get driven forward and they have to drive on and they have to score goals. Like I said, it reminded me of the Forest game when Newcastle got a bit desperate in the game and Luton, their counter-attack play was absolutely off the charts. They were sensational. They played the game really well and just kept hitting Newcastle on the counter. In the end, it was an amazing game, but I think Rob Edwards, the Luton manager, being away from home, would take a point. Having said that, they were winning 4-2, so there's a slight contradiction there. I think it's one of these where you don't try and analyse it too much and just say, what an amazing game of football.
But if you were to analyse it, you'd say 2 more points dropped from Newcastle. Yeah. We had such great expectations at the start of the season 4.
Yeah, and if you start to believe that Newcastle were out of their worst spell of the season, players are starting to come back. I mentioned Harvey Barnes involved yet again. You're at home to Luton. You're expecting 3 points. Don certainly thought so with a 5-1 prediction. But I felt, to Don's point, I felt you saw the best of Newcastle when they went 4-2 down. All of a sudden, emotion really ramped up within St James's, and you saw the energy of Newcastle respond in kind, and you saw a high-pressing, high-energy side to Newcastle that I thought you hadn't seen for much of the game before that. And while, yes, we could criticise Newcastle for dropping points against lowly Luton, I think we have to give Luton some credit here. You come to St James's Park, and the one thing about Luton, regardless of their position in the table and what may come at the end of the season, it seems as though they've just decided they're going to attack, play an open game of football. They're going to concede, but they're going to score as well. And that is almost breathtaking. Are they
going to be safe, Shaq?
I think so. I hope so. Just kind of given how open they are.
Because you hate Everton?
I think Forest are in real danger.
Right.
I think Forest are in real
Sheffield
danger.
United. Burnley came back, didn't they? 2-0 down against Fulham.
I think Sheffield, Burnley, and right now Forest.
Wow. Stevie?
I think Burnley and Sheffield are doomed.
Right.
And then from there, it's one of what? 4, maybe even 5. I mean, Crystal Palace are absolutely sinking big time.
I see, Everton is a weird one because you've got this points deduction, which you appeal. Maybe you get the points back, and all of a sudden you shoot up the table.
Not quite sure.
But you've got another kind of charge hanging over your head, so maybe you get more points deducted, which takes you all the way down Sheffield United. So it's weird to kind of figure out what's happening with Everton, and of course that has, because of how poor Sheffield United and Burnley have been, that has huge knock-on effects for everybody else because all of a sudden now it's one team.
Who have you got, Don?
Do you know, if you take the points deduction away, I think the team that's bang in trouble, I think it's Crystal Palace. They've played 2 games more than most. Michael Olise, they lost him today. He got brought on at half-time, only lasted 9 minutes and an impact off the pitch. Him and Eza, the 2 bright young players, are both missing. They don't score goals, and Jeffrey Schlupp and Mateta, Jordan Ayew, they just don't score goals. They're an average team to watch. I felt for Roy Hodgson today because his team were awful and they got a spanking. It could have been 6 or 7. So to answer your question, I think the one that'll drift really close and badly will be Palace. I've just got no idea what's going to happen to Everton. The form side are Luton. So on the face of it, as we sit here and call how the performances are, Luton should be fine. But the worry is when you're down there, and I've been there, and you're Luton Town, and you're winning games and you're taking points, that can't last forever in the Premier League. At some point, your winning run's going to come to an end. It's how, when you lose 1 or 2 games, which is inevitable, it's how you respond. I think they've got the character, Luton. I hope they do it, and they're going to do it their way. I'm mumbling a little bit because I'm not sure, because I think we're going to have to say this week by week. But the one I fear for is Palace.